I'll fill it. Good evening, everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting? Motion. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for our service and Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, stands with the nation under God, and justice.
Thank you. Can the district clerk please call the roll?
Marisol Mallon, President. Here. April Anatelli, Vice President. President. Jackie DiLorenzo, Trustee. President. Sarah Parisi, Trustee. Here. Melissa Torrosa, Trustee. Dr. Joseph Senmore, Superintendent.
Present.
Robert Hauser, Assistant Super Business and Operations.
Present.
Reza Kolahifer, Assistant Super Admin Personnel.
Hola y bienvenido. En honor of Saint
Muy bien.
Christina Poppy, Assistant Super Curriculum Instruction. Present. John Allen, Assistant to the Superintendent.
Present.
Lori O'Hara, Executive Director of Professional Development, Client Services, and Special Ed. Anthony Fasano, District Attorney.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, can I please have a motion and a second to suspend the business meeting and reconvene the public hearing at the annual meeting? Motion. All in favor? Dr. Senmore and Mr. Hauser will have a presentation on the budget hearing. I will pass it to Dr. Senmore.
Thank you, Mr. Travis. And in addition to Cinco de Mayo, it is also National Teacher Appreciation Day. So thank you to our staff. Recently acknowledged our office administrative assistants, our principals, and also on day one nurses. Get the presentation up. Good evening. Thank you very much to our district clerk, and thank you all for attending, either in person or on the live stream. So tonight, after meeting for over a number of weeks with these public sessions to work on the budget development, after the budget adoption of 2 weeks ago, tonight we are holding the public hearing on the budget, and then the budget vote and board election will be held on May 19th. Number one priority has been and remains the bread and butter, which is student learning and the programs that promote it. This includes addressing the needs of the whole child, which incorporates mental health and all-around wellness. It is also essential that we continue to prepare our students for post-high school success through a variety of college as well as career exploration opportunities. Backing these programs and opportunities is a strong infrastructure as well as a technological foundational base. And doing all this while being mindful of the cost impact on our residents and remaining within the allowable tax levy, which we did. When we are discussing a school district budget, we need to focus on the return on investment for our students and community. ConnectWatt continues to promote excellence and achievement as indicated by its outstanding recent statistics with similar results expected when the current year concludes in June. Our students graduate with core foundational higher order skill sets, including communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creative problem solving, all of which are equipping them with the essential tools for lifelong success. Connecticut athletes and athletic teams are routinely recognized for their scholarly achievement, with many students going on to compete at the collegiate level and all levels. As we look towards 2026 and 27, we will continue to provide enhanced opportunities and initiatives at both the elementary and secondary levels. Our students have a plethora of opportunities to take rigorous and advanced coursework, including for college credit. This not only provides for an impressive academic resume as our students compete for college acceptance, but it also helps to reduce the financial burden on them and their families. It is equally important to provide a variety of career, including the various trades, exposure opportunities with real, hands-on, in-the-field experiences and placement. At the elementary level, building a strong foundation in literacy and mathematics remains at the forefront, and we continue to see growth through our diagnostic data collection. Additionally, early exposure to world language not only fosters second language acquisition, but also reinforces literacy across the curriculum. Connecticut is well equipped to meet the adopted changes that the state has recently done with its New York Inspires initiative and the portrait of a graduate, certainly the areas of personal finance and climate education. Our arts continue to receive accolades as we are renowned for our vocal, instrumental, and theatrical performing groups, as well as our fine arts. Our students are being recognized for their work in science research in the areas of genetics and biotech, while also engaging in local volunteer efforts such as the restoration of the wetland. They will continue to engage in science research partnerships with institutions such as Brookhaven National Lab, Cold Spring Harbor Lab, and Stony Brook University, just to name a few. Connecticut truly is and will continue to be a AAA district with its excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics. Like many districts on Long Island, this has been a challenging budget development process, especially when factoring cost impact mandates, limited aid increases, as we still await a finalized budget by the state. As I previously mentioned, the focus throughout has been meeting our students' needs while reviewing programs and enrollment. It is a lean budget with economy of scales, and we looked at and took advantage of open positions across the district in numerous areas. We also had to make difficult decisions, and certainly they were not made lightly, regarding the accessing of teaching, non-instructional supervisory, and administrative positions, with the latter including consolidating and restructuring responsibility. As I pass this budget presentation over to Mr. Hauser, I do so with confidence and conviction in the programs and services supported by this budget for our student success for the subsequent 2026-27 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Sandler. All right, so once again, this slide should look familiar. Those of you who may have attended the meetings and watched the presentations. And for anyone out there who doesn't have a copy, I left copies on the back chair, as well as a copy of the current budget newsletter. So here, I'm going to direct your attention, if I could, to the column that I highlighted in green. That is the adopted proposed budget that the community will be voting on. And I also want to pull your attention to the line that I highlighted of bullet blue, the anticipated additional foundation. So once again, we find ourselves in a position where the state The legislature mainly has not adopted the state budget, and so we do not know what our final state aid number is. Based on information we have received and conversations that we've had so far, we're anticipating an additional 1% in foundation aid only, and that is that $363,914. So we're hopeful that when the state legislature approves the budget, they will approve foundation aid with a total amount of 2%.
And that's what the Senate and the Assembly are.
Correct. Yep. If you go down a little further in yellow, so I highlighted the 0 there, and that's just to highlight that the budget is in fact balanced. But the expenditures and the total revenues equal, so we do have a balanced budget. Based on a little further down on the current assessed values provided by the town of Islip, you can see the various estimated school tax costs for particular residential homes, depending upon their assessed value. And as I've said before, that those assessed valuations fluctuate based on exemptions that particular homeowners may have. So, but on average, you can see the different numbers there. If you go all the way over to the right, up at the top, I've circled the 0.55%. So that is the percentage increase, slightly more than 0.5%, is the total expenditure increase. But how much more we anticipate spending next year. And if you can't follow down that column to the next item that I've circled, the 2.12%. Okay, that is the tax levy increase. Right, that is the maximum that is allowed by the New York State tax cap. Right, the Comptroller's Office puts out that formula. So I'll say we are within the tax cap. We're actually at it, but it is a tax cap compliant budget. One more number I do want to call your attention to. So if you look at that circle with the 2.12% and you just go one column to the left, you'll see $3,082,521. And this is a what if scenario. So if the district were to face a contingency budget, the contingency budget now is a 0 tax levy increase. Not be allowed to raise the levy from the current school year. So that $3,082,521 increase would not be allowed to. So be faced under a contingency budget, having to look for areas to cut that $3 million. I bring that up because it's just going to come up again in the slide. Okay. All right. So here we just took the budget and we summarized it into the various categories to give you an idea of which areas of the budget make up the largest percentages. And so up at the top, we have our general support, and I'll say mainly on the word too much here, but it's more of administrative functions, make up about 10% of the budget. Okay. Second one is our instruction of a $118 million number. That's 51.54%. So over half of our budget is made up of instructional expenses. The next one is transportation. Okay, $11,882,000. That's about 5.6% of our budget. And then all the other expenses that are identified as undistributed expenses, which are employee benefits, our debt service on bonds, bond anticipation notes, tax anticipation notes. And then the third item is our interfund transfers. Those are the amount of monies we will be transferring to the special aid fund as well as to our capital fund. They make up about 33.3%. And just to break this down a little bit further, the impact, I'll say, on an average home, not an average, but a home that's assessed at $50,000. That may be at the higher end of the assessed value in the community. For that particular home, the increase per month, this particular budget, in the levy would be $18.58 per month, increase. Okay. At the bottom half of this slide, I just broke out what the actual annual increases. Okay, as I mentioned before, and I just spoke briefly about a contingency budget. The community should be receiving what we refer to as the 6-day notice. So 6 days before the budget vote, you'll receive a budget notice. It'll look similar to this with a little bit more information on it. But what I did here is I just cut a portion of that notice to give everyone an idea of. I'm looking at the bottom part of this slide. In the middle is our current school year budget, $229 million number. One column over is the current proposed budget of $230,328,000, and then to the far right over there would be the contingency budget if we were to have to go with that. Okay, so you can see the various percentage increases as well as the dollar increases, and at the bottom is the change in the consumer price index. So that's, to me, a very important number. It gives an idea of how much prices in general for the last year have increased, which is 2.63. So as you can see from one of the first slides I presented, the budget is only going up 0.55%. So our expenditures are only going up 0.55% in total. But on average here, we as a school district and the community are faced with prices increasing over 2%. So for the vote, there'll be one proposition that the community will be voting on, and that is the $230 million proposed expenditure budget, which has that 2.12% increase in the levy. So just as a reminder, I said this before, the budget, I'll say, is under the tax cap. It's actually at the tax cap, but it is a tax cap compliant budget. So it requires a majority, right, 50% or more of the people who come to vote. It requires that amount to budget. That's Tuesday, May 19th. It's at 3 locations, the high school. The voting is at the two middle schools. It goes from 8 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. Okay, and I guess I'll just open the floor if anyone has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Hadley.
Yeah, the only thing I just want to point out on there, because I know this gets very confusing for people when they see 3 different voting locations. They are dependent upon where you live. So basically, the easy way to put it, just so everybody knows, if you are north of Vets, you're at RMS. South of Sunrise, OBMS. Right in the middle, you're at the high school. Just to put that out there, because I know it's very different from the regular, November election. That's pretty much where the lines are drawn when you vote.
Thank you. Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Hadley?
My whole point is that last week, the last board meeting, we were told that the comptroller can't be brought in. Comptroller can be brought in. Furthermore, again, I stick with the stance that we're just not getting any answers for our questions. Down to the end of last week, board members found out something was cut. They had no idea what was cut. 0. Okay. That's beyond major issue. And it brings into question everything with this budget. I stand firm on where I state this is. You can't not account for. It must be accounted for. When it's not, by the way, this was cut, this was cut, this was cut, and none of the board knows. It's never, but never supposed to happen. So again, that's where it stands. People have to vote their conscience come 9th to 19th, but they should know that there are no answers.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Mr. Hadley? Okay, I will now open the floor to the public. But this public.
I'm sorry, I do have one comment. I apologize. I agree with Sarah on a lot of what she said, but I really do hope the public gets out and votes the budget and passes the budget, because this does affect our students, it does affect our staff, it affects our community on a whole. We want the best for our students. We want them to be able to have the programs they have. And I hope everybody understands, so if budget doesn't pass, it's even more cuts than we've already made. So I want to make that part clear, that we really have to think about this on a whole and what is good for our community, our students, everyone. And I'm not saying that, we do have questions and they do need answers, but that will come. And we need to make sure that our students are still getting what they need.
Raising class sizes is not giving the community what they need. Firing people, that affects our kids as well. Okay, again, no answers. Okay. You don't vote for make believe and then question it after. Okay. I clearly I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to raise class sizes, but I certainly don't want to be told, oh, that we cut that. Without it coming to the board, without a vote, without anything. Okay. So yeah, I agree with you, April. My problem is, okay, you don't let the barn doors open, let the horse run in, okay? And then be like, can't do that. Doesn't work that way. Or clearly it does here, but it should. And just to clarify, last board meeting, it was stated like the comptroller could never be brought. Well, that doesn't work. Yes, it.
Well, to be fair, I said we looked into it, and we did. and
Well,
they can
wait a
come in.
minute, I'm talking about what the board was told.
Yes, but
Okay.
we looked into it, and the comptroller can come in.
The
and
board
we-
Look
Right.
into it.
Yes, yes, yes,
Is the point,
we did.
not what we were told.
So in terms of class sizes, all class sizes are conducive and they're within the budgetary guidelines. And especially at the primary level, if there is a class or so that might be one student or two students over those guidelines, we do have built into the budget teaching assistant support. So in terms of the class size, they still remain within our targeted numbers, and certainly not just at the elementary level, but especially at the secondary level. And, I mentioned when I was doing the first couple of slides that, enrollment is certainly a significant factor. And when you have to look at a lean budget, you look to see what your class sizes are going to be. You look to see the impact on programs. Our programs are intact. If the one program at the high school that we're actually going to be servicing even more students now, and not just in that building, but across the district. So in terms of something that it may have been cut, I think one of the things that came up in the last couple of days was a software program the high school has been using called Scholarship. There's been issues with that program, trying to figure out an alternative. We recently met again with the high school, and we may have an alternative to it that we can still do within budgetary restraints. But certainly, as superintendent of schools, want to maintain those strong lines of communication, want to maintain the confidence support, and certainly as we provide a budget to the community, want to maintain the community's confidence. That's why I wanted to speak those first several slides, talk about, what is in place, what's been in place. Certainly, what we're looking at with the next year, this budget is going to support in terms of what student needs, both academic, social, and emotional wellness, K through 12, and even pre-K. And as we wait for the state to finalize their budget, we are prepared to actually expand pre-K with the utilization of
Scholarship. Now, I had brought that up, I want to say it was around 3 years ago, because I remember bringing it up as a parent before, that I had really a lot of concerns about scholarship between GPS tracking, student privacy, all of that. I wasn't a fan of it. We continued on with it. This now removal of scholarship, just with me, I found out about it, I think less than an hour ago. I had no clue that was taken out. I couldn't tell you what's in place. I can't even tell you what the issues were from the district perspective as to why it was removed. I know my issues, I was not crazy about it at all. And I expressed it multiple times at meetings, and honestly, you had to hear me, you were sitting up here. And I didn't like it back then, but nonetheless, the district kept going with it. I found out less than an hour ago that it was taken out. I don't know if that's part of what was cut when we went from the 16.7 down. I don't know. I should know. I absolutely should know, but I do not.
Yeah,
That's
so
all.
I equally had concerns about scholarship. It wasn't my favorite program at all. I actually liked it immensely. Nonetheless, I found out about scholarship at a committee meeting that it was, I also did not hear about it, that it was a line item that was cut, which was a concern for me and for other board members, but, that is the issue that we are discussing.
Again, I get it on the back. Point of fact is that we are not being notified on anything. First budget deficit that was brought to us was 3.4 million. Categorically untrue. Okay, there was a lot more. To date, things clearly have been cut. We're giving one example. Okay, things have been cut we know nothing about. How does that happen? How does that happen? We're getting answers that either aren't true or they don't know the answer to. Such as, yes, I can do this, I can put this person out. I don't need a board vote when they do, because it has to do with monetary issues. And clearly, class sizes are at 28 in the elementary school level. Now, again, this is my opinion. Second, third, fourth grade that's what the kids learn. Okay. It's ever so important to have lower classes. Okay. We're getting behind. And it's essentially next to nothing, but we don't know where we're gonna get that money from. So this just isn't good. And it progressively gets worse and worse.
I will have to say that, 3 years ago, first on the board, I was not a fan of scholarship because I went to a meeting and I was told that we have capabilities within a program we already have to do the same exact thing scholarship does. And I couldn't understand why we were paying more money to bring something else in when we had two different programs. So I would like to see the administration look into what our capabilities are within the programs we already have to substitute this program, because we need something. And again, obviously, this should have been a bigger conversation than right now, where we're having it. But I would like to see what programs we have and what we can utilize within our budget already to counteract.
And scholarship first came out on grants. There's no reason why we can't look at other opportunities for grants that are out there to bring in another program. If scholarship isn't the one, that's fine. But you can't just delete it or remove it and not have a backup plan in place before you do the conversation about that.
Personal opinion about scholarship aside, I said it in the committee meeting when we found out. I am not comfortable though. I don't think any of us like scholarship as a whole. Not comfortable having nothing in place. I don't like the idea. That's where this came up. How we found out about it was somebody who works for us saying the concern was just that scholarship is available for scan into cafeteria or for these places that are large areas of easier to locate students that way, right? So if we just are kind of ripping the Band-Aid off, getting rid of one with no, I need to see what the plan is in place of that. And to know that we are able to effectively continue. Sure, we can reimagine. I hope we do have something available that has the same capacity or maybe even better. Or I know that there are some concerns with the way that scholarship was just unable to link with some of the programs we existing had, and it kind of rendered it useless in most ways. But just having nothing, and now here we are, and again, 11th hour, and it's going to be gone, and the plan is kind of just to figure it out. I'm kind of over the figured out plan that needs to be figured out when we're making these moves. I would also just, doesn't have to be answered right now, would like us to be apprised of if there was any other items that were just removed like that you guys can think of that maybe didn't seem worth mentioning, but could be, because I think, at least I can only speak for me, being in that committee meeting, it's not about scholarship, it's about sitting there and finding out about the removal of scholarship in a committee. Right, like it's my frustration doesn't come from scholarship being gone, it comes from how I learned that scholarship will be gone. I understand the financial position we're in. I don't know that any of us would have been like, no, and like laid down and fought for scholarships live. It was the method component, which kind of seems to be a little bit of a theme for sitting here. That's
So for me, it's not a theme. There's zero accountability. Zero. We are not only not getting answers, we are now at the juncture where we're finding out what and who has been cut. Okay. People are losing their livelihoods, class sizes are going up. Okay. The simple fact of the matter is, no answers, no accountability. Can't go on.
There is accountability with your superintendent of schools. And so if the board feels that they're not getting, certain answers in a timely fashion, those adjustments will be made. The scholarship wasn't necessarily a budgetary item. It was an item that was not functioning to full capacity. And it was being looked at to see if we could do actually without it. Certainly wasn't something that was heavily kept from the board, but I certainly wouldn't want you to, feel like accountability component certainly is with this with it.
There absolutely were things kept from the board deliberately. When you bring a budget that says we have a deficit of 3.4 million. One board member says, no, it's actually 5.6. Then another board member says, it's actually more than 10 million. So this is not, it was not only no accountability, it was absolutely categorically kept from us. It's a date, we're still asking questions and sitting there going, how come we didn't know? I don't understand. And it's everything. We ask questions, no answers. And dealing with certain personnel and issues like that, not only that, we're getting a completely inaccurate story as to whether some things can be done and some things can't. But we have to know about that.
I am now going to open the floor to the public. And this comment portion is for the public hearing only. There will be another public comment session later on in the meeting. Does that was a tongue twister for some reason. Does anybody have a comment about the public hearing? Okay, excellent. Let me put on my old lady glasses. Hold on. At this public comment period, items related to the public hearing only will be heard. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. Use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1. Just press the button on the mic. I don't know if it's the right one. Yes, that's it.
So my question, it's regarding placing the young students in, larger class sizes at such a academic and social development stage in their lives. I know you mentioned the TAs, but, my question is, have there been any statistics done in the past that show the larger class sizes have been effective? And if not, then is there a way to then process moving forward, some type of different way if academic numbers start to decrease and students aren't doing well in these larger class sizes.
When you talk about general education classes, I know that can also incorporate inclusion. You have the combination of students' right needs as well. The research that I've shown definitely, probably shows numbers more in the lower teens. The reason that this district set up these budget guidelines, and I don't think they've changed for a number of years. The K1, 2, and approximately 22, the grades 3, 4, 5, at 25, is because those are considered conducive, grade ranges. The board did, want to ensure, especially at the primary level, again, those grades can be K1, 2, that if we had sections that might have been 1 or 2 students over, because then if you start splitting those sections, then you're looking at 12, 13 kids in a class, and that's not really conducive. That you start getting into more of what might be considered a high special needs type of environment. You have that low of a class size to make sure that those supports were in place in terms of personnel, and so that's what I was referencing in terms of what the primary.
So if the numbers after the larger class sizes, increase come September and students aren't doing well academic wise, second grade, is there something that they'll put in place moving forward to then diminish that 2 large class sizes and go back to the 3 for grade level?
No, I would not anticipate splitting class sections up once the school year starts. And in terms of student growth, we have the diagnostics in place that they take several times a year. That allows for that timely monitoring, both the mathematics and reading literacy. And we do have, a great deal of supports in place that if we're seeing any of our classes, it's not just K1, 2, that may be struggling in any areas to provide that.
I just wanted to give you personal feedback, which has nothing to do with data. I can say that my 2 older children who went through had large class sizes, and we did fight for the TA because I do think that second person does need to be in the class, and they also had TAs in the class, and it did make a huge difference. So just personal experience, and I hope that, obviously your children have the same benefit from it. That, but I don't want to say as a board member that, of course, if all of a sudden we see there's a huge difference, I don't want you to think no one's going to notice that or look at that. Because I would think no matter if I'm on the board or anybody's on the board, that it's going to make a difference. We would want to know that.
Thank you. Number 2. You just have to press the and it yep, that's it.
Thanks, I just gotta say it and I rarely say it. We told you guys about scholarship. Oh my God, all of us told you. How many meetings did we stand up and tell you about it? So I just had to get out like this. But I say it on this one because this was a big problem. You can't fund something through a grant. It's a one-time thing. I get it. It's a great idea. But it's fiscally irresponsible to plan your budget using just grants because they're not sustainable. So unless you have a plan to fund that going forward, like scholarship did not, obviously. So then that's what we don't want to do. Grants are great, but they're for specific items and they're not the way that you should plan your budget. It's a bad idea. I am curious though, if we do go to contingency, and perhaps I missed this somewhere because I didn't see this anywhere, what will they be cutting? What was decided will go? Now I know we have to keep the operating and all that. Obviously there's a lot of requirements and we have to follow federal law and things like that. But what are we looking to cut to make up that difference? That's the one thing. And let me just say my other things while you get that together. I just want to say that I agree. First of all, thank you very much for being transparent about what's really going on, because that's really important because we all should be here for the same thing, and that's to, support our students, our staff, and our community, and everyone's got to talk about that. But I want to say, Sarah, I do agree with you. The younger years, they do need smaller class sizes. It's supported by empirical data. And the impact on their foundational skills is much larger at the younger ages. It lessens as they get older, and it doesn't show to have as much of an impact having a larger class at an older age. But those younger years, it's extremely important, especially that we have a literary-based curriculum where you have to learn how to read and comprehend for every single class. You can't just be good at math anymore, because now you have to read these extensive word problems, same with science and things like that. So I just think that's something we really have to really just hone in on. And in my personal opinion, my kids did have larger class sizes, but I kind of get back to the TA. But I will tell you, I think all K-2 classrooms, regardless of how big or small they are, should have a TA. There should be a second adult in those classrooms because it makes sense. There's a lot that goes on with little kids, and even with bigger kids, but it's better to have a second person. And it's easier to pull a small group. It's easier to do things and to be more efficient, to be more effective more than anything. That's what we want to do, support the kids. And the staff, which that does. So, contingency budget, what do you got?
What would you like to address?
So if the budget was to be unsuccessful, board would have the option of putting the budget back up, adjusting the budget. Certainly during that time, we'd have to have discussions, from where if we end up in contingency, and I think house that about $3 million, we'd have to look at, programs and the staffing associated with programs.
So you haven't considered anything at all yet? So if it fails, you have like 5 minutes to figure it all out. It just doesn't make sense. I've never even done that with some serious. Like usually there's a plan. Like if this happens, and this is the first, this is what we have to do at first. So this.
Well, as we were building this budget, we had to look at a lot of things. So, that list is still there, and so we have to revisit it.
Does the public get to see what the list is?
Programs and staffing.
But what programs? Are we cutting like the drama? Are we cutting football? Are we cutting after school activities?
It has not been discussed.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, the answer is no, we don't have the answers. Number 3. I'd like to clarify one thing with this. Board fought for, when this came up about second grade, the Board of Ed up here fought for it because there's no money, period. But the board fought for a full-time because they were talking about putting a part-time. That does nothing. Clearly needed, and the amount of aides that go in is directly affected by how many students, if we get a couple more in or whatever. So the board diligently fought to get it full by me for the whole day.
I'm up here to speak about class sizes, which I fought for all these years. And not for nothing, April, I don't remember you being supportive of us putting a TA. I remember Marisol being supportive, I remember Jackie being supportive, and I remember Melissa being supportive. I remember I was the one that brought it up because it was ridiculous that at the time we were putting 23, 24 students in a class. Now you guys are looking at imagining 25 to 27 in a classroom. 25 to 27, okay, in an elementary classroom is beyond widely considered high. It absolutely affects learning and the ability to spot students who have issues like attention deficit disorder and many other related situations and illnesses. At that class size, a teacher's attention is stretched thin. Elementary students need frequent redirection, individualized feedback, and close observation. When there are nearly 30 kids in a classroom, there's less individual attention given to each child who, unfortunately, if they have focus issues, that also disrupts the teachers, their class, their educational time. There's a delayed identification of students. I know my own child had that. We didn't know until their older years. That's why I fought for it, because nobody understood a child that's shy that might be a selective mute. Child that's shy isn't just shy. There are other issues at play, and people didn't know because the classes at that time were bigger. Classroom management dominates. You guys are talking about putting an aide in. Are you still having problems getting aides? Because there was over the years having problems getting bus aides, having problems getting regular TAs. Now we're talking about all these classrooms that might potentially need TAs. Are you going to have the staffing for that? Forget just the money. You have to actually have the people. Smaller class sizes improve outcomes academically. You're already taking out the math director. For years, we've spoken about K to 12 having issues with math. Getting rid of one of the largest academic positions and people, I understand that the person may be retiring, but that is not an excuse to access that position. That position really needs to be looked at because academically, you're looking at putting more kids in a classroom. There's going to be more stress on the teachers, more stress to get the staff. And also, now you're going to have to worry about the curriculum being able to actually be taught without having extra help. Considering K to 12, you're going to have STEM, one of the biggest. And then you're also going to have math involved in that. You put them together. It makes sense at times with the English. I understood that one years ago when it was spoken about, putting English with business or English with social studies and business, but I do not understand what's happening, especially 26 to 26 kids in a classroom is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you.
Yeah, it went out, and that's why I was before you, Jackie. I just want to say, Jackie, I appreciate you trying to remember, but, when it comes to the TAs, it definitely was very beneficial for my kids. My daughter, who, many of you know, is a scholar herself, loves having the TA in the room. It's one of her favorites, more so than teachers at the time. So yeah, no, I definitely always go to TA is beneficial.
These issues that are being talked about are just amongst the many reasons why I said no last time. I think a lot of these decisions that then were made hasty, and I think they are unsustainable. I am concerned. What is going to happen if these children are having trouble? What is the plan in place when there are 27 children and they need help? I mean, and I'm going to give a more personal a take on this from a different perspective. No, I'm not a teacher, but I teach classes at the library. I teach 10 classes to children in K to 2, grades 3 to 5, Florida range. When I teach classes with 20 children, so depending on the activity, we have a teen advisory board that comes in, the teens come and help us. I sometimes have 3 teams to help me with 20 children for a 45-minute class. Because me, as the librarian teaching the class, and then I'm doing the activity with them, whatever it might be, they need help. And it's physically impossible for me to get to all 20 children. No, I don't always have 20 children in there, but I always have the help in there because once you hit a certain point, I have some classes where I have 30. And I will definitely have help in there because you are stretched thin as the instructor in the class. So I just want to put that out there. These are, great points put up by everyone amongst the reasons why I feel we made hasty decisions and decisions that are not sustainable. And it's really just, it's a Band-Aid to save us money now. I don't know about the long run.
Number 4.
So I got popped up. I want to say,
So sorry.
all valid questions. I told everybody my opinion on early elementary school years. I want to clarify. There's no money. Let me be clear on this, okay? There is no money. When we asked about cuts, when we asked about other things, what I heard were crickets. Okay. Answers, no money. During the course of that, we diligently fought, the board diligently fought to get the bare bones minimum full-time need. Okay. We're struggling with that. So, I can't, with a clear conscience, come, what I represent is the majority of this community. Okay, the residents, whether they have children or not, and doing what's best for the kids. Okay, I can't do that with no answers. We need answers. Period.
Number 4. 5.
Hi. My question is regarding the projected budget plan. I was looking for it, the school district website, and I saw that there was a spending on 5G cellular boosters and computer switches. I just want to know how exactly is the district measuring how effective this is and the ROI basically on for this technology.
I can give you kind of a cursory explanation, and perhaps I can get your information if you have further questions. The 5G cellular booster is a pilot project within this building, actually. It's an effort to improve our Wi-Fi connectivity. And the reason why this building was selected is because the charge for that particular service is based upon square footage. It's an effort to see how well the cellular service improves with that booster in place, and that will inform our next decision-making in terms of a larger scale project for the district. It's an initial effort. You're welcome. And what was the other one that you mentioned?
The switches.
The switches. So we are engaged in an ongoing switch replacement project. And this is all part of a larger plan for infrastructure improvements that to enhance our connectivity, to remain up to date. And it is part of a larger scale technology plan that the district is required to submit in terms of remaining connected amongst all of our buildings and to the outside world. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you would like to give, sir, if you would like to give the district clerk your information, we can get back in touch with you if you have any additional questions. Number 6.
My first question is, I thought that the contingency budget was equal to prior year's budget, but I see this number on the contingency budget is lower than last year's budget.
Correct. So the contingency budget is not, I'll say, pegged to the prior year's expenditure budget. It's based on a level. So that, in other words, if we were to go to that point contingency vote, or if the board would elect to dispose, that would mean we cannot raise any more monies than the current year.
So I'm a little confused, but okay.
I did help.
I'm also confused with the financials of cutting for elementary teachers and increasing class sizes in other classrooms and then putting TAs into those classrooms and how the numbers make up the difference between the salaries of multiple TAs on top of the teacher salary. Basically, how much of a savings are we talking about by putting TAs into classrooms that are now oversized than having teachers in classrooms that are undersized?
So in terms of compensation, the compensation of and we value them tremendously, but the compensation of a teaching assistant, for example, I think the total compensation package is significantly less than a teacher's total compensation package. And again, sure, the fiscal climate, drives a lot of this, but so does our enrollment. And like I said earlier, we have an established class size guidelines, and they haven't changed for many years. And, so certainly, again, K1, 2, up to 22 students, 3, 4, 5, up to 25 students. And then looking at when you get those situations where you have a 23rd or a 24th student, when you look at splitting those sections, you then create 11 kids, 12 kids in a class. And, as we talk about sustainability, as we talk about the conducive learning environment, that's not a high special needs learning environment in terms of the social activities and everything else, that's not really the intent either. So we are staying within the guidelines, and the board was, but this board was strong advocates, especially at the primary level, K1, 2, to ensure that, this budget didn't include that assistance.
All right, my last question is budget adjacent, but since it's on here, I'm going to ask, and if you want me to kick it to next public session, let me know. The student excellence and achievements. The class of 2025 was the first class with the 65 passing versus 70 passing, correct? Do we know how that affected any of these numbers?
I'll chime in here. I don't believe it affected the numbers themselves, although we wouldn't necessarily be able to make that direct comparison, right? Because the sum of their 12th grade year was built upon that passing rate, right? So if they pass the course with that 65, I don't know if I can make a relevant comparison to would they have passed the course if the passing grade was 70. Our
And graduation rates have been pretty consistent
and our graduation rates have been
several
consistent.
years.
Yes, and I think overall it's important to note that there is an element for course grades of flexibility that teachers can exercise, right? And I think we've talked about that as part of our work on the curriculum committee. So if the student is in that passing range, has exhibited effort, the teacher does have the ability to make a decision to bring that student over that passing threshold, whether that's 65 or 70. I think that conversation holds true. I guess the data marker would be our graduation rates, and they have been consistent. And in addition, the region's passing rate has always been 65, right? So we've always been held to that standard in terms of meeting that criteria for graduation, positioning for graduation.
So I have a question about that. So from what I understand, this is ConnectWise. It's individual school districts, but for instance, if someone passes the Regents, yet they weren't passing their course, they don't pass the course, but I'm not quite understanding why we would make things more difficult for the teacher and or the kids. Okay, it's always been, or for many, many years in ConnectWise, that if a kid passed, whether it was cramming and studying the last month, to pull it through. When they passed the Regents, they got their Regents diploma, they passed the course. But ConnectWise, am I accurate on this? That even if they pass, if they fail the course, then they fail the course.
That's accurate. So if they're passing the Regents exam and they earn credit for the exam, right? They've completed that requirement, they've completed that element. However, and the Regents exam does factor into the course rate, which does not occur in every school district also. That is a local measure. The other local measure that brought up, Ms. Parisi, is accurate. So if they are not successful in the course, even with that Regents grade over that 65 or at that 65 threshold, they are required to complete the course for course credit here. It is not that way in every district, but that's how it is in ConnectWise. That's how it has been for as long as I've been here.
So
It may have. This is my.
Or was all if the kid passed the Regents. And I can kind of understand that. If there's a time where, let's say, the parents can only afford a month worth of tutor services or whatever, and the kid gives everything they have. If it's good enough for the state, why wouldn't it be good enough for ConnectWise? Why would we make their lives that much more difficult? Because clearly they put in what they needed to put in to pass that. And maybe it was simply that parents could only afford a month worth of tutor, something like that. And as I said, it's always been that way in ConnectWise. So 11 years it hasn't been. I have to ask why. I don't understand. It's just another question.
Well, you can answer. I brought this up in the curriculum meeting too, because I was under the same impression as you, that was always the case. And then I was corrected, because I thought the same thing, pass the week, which pass the course. And I was told that it's teacher specific, and some teachers do that and some teachers don't. But I
or thought the same thing as you for many, many years.
I don't even understand what the teacher specific means. It was either, it was period end of sentence, this is the way it was, okay? If you pass the regents, you pass the course, okay? So, teacher specific, I don't know, I don't care. What I understand is, why would we, if it's good enough for the state, why would it not be good enough for us? And why wouldn't you make that just that much more difficult? Don't get it.
Thank you. Number 7.
These excerpts, address the
Just need you to press the button on the mic. I forget which side it's on. It'll light up red. Maybe?
Right side.
Yes, there you go.
And, okay, hi, first of all, congratulations on all of the achievements that you have done, everybody. Some great achievements. One of the things that, is effective is looking at best practices. I can tell you, in other districts, they have very open budget workshop meetings. They have, before the district, the school board meeting, there's a workshop meeting. And I'll give you an example related to scholarship. When we were looking at a new student management system, we had the sales rep from Infinite Campus come in and present to us, the board and community members, what we should know about Infinite Campus. And then we looked at School Tool, and it was a community decision. And I strongly urge the looking at the process of the budget process so that it's we made the decision. We together made the decision as opposed to us versus them. Nobody wants to make some of the cuts that you are being asked to make, okay? But when community members get to weigh in on it, it makes a big difference. And I'll give you an example. I'm a big summer school guy. I couldn't even get summer school in my own budget because the community said if they didn't pass the first time, they don't deserve it. I don't agree with that, but I respected what the budget said, what the community said. And I think that a more open process with workshops with everybody, all vested parties, it becomes a we decision as opposed to us versus them. Thank you.
Yeah, Ed, I have to tell you, I totally agree, and I've asked since I got on the board for us to bring back, we did have those at one point, that every PTA would, create a budget, committee, and, majority of the board did not agree, so, but I definitely think it's beneficial to have the community involved, that's what.
And you know what? We're in this together. It's not like if my side of the boat is sinking, that you're okay. We are all together on this.
And I think that's the issue to Ms. Inatelli's point. It wasn't that we didn't want to have this committee, it's that we had it. The board at the time and the superintendent at the time, and it was not Dr. Sycamore, by the way, did not listen to the feedback that was presented. So therefore, a lot of people were like, what are we doing? So they're like, why didn't we form another one if we're not in them? But to April's point, we're like, well, we're moving forward with the superintendent, which trying to go because it just doesn't.
Learning goal.
Right.
Thank you.
I have to say that 2 months on, I was like 2 months on the board. One of the very first things I brought up was the budget advisory. Yeah. And again, crickets. I'm not quite sure why that would ever be, but then I brought it up again, and again, nothing. Well, yeah, it's really different. But then again, nothing. So well, yeah, the onus falls on us. Essentially, with something like this, we need the administration to be like, all right, we want a budget advisory committee, get this going on, do this, do this, do this.
I was going to say, another theme I want to point out, right? I think we were all like, yeah, and I do recall the first year on board, this also came up at the budget advisory committee, and we were all like, yes. We were told when it existed in the past, similar, exactly what Marisol said, that people were just like, we're done coming to this because it's like talking to the wall, right? The theme I noticed that kind of keeps coming up is like, it's always been this way, or this is just how it's been, or like, this is how we're, like, I'm kind of done with the answer of it's been this way. It's not anymore. And guess what? After the next election, it's not that way anymore again. They're like, it's not, that's it. Like, I'm frustrated because it, again, there's a level of responsibility, right? We bring it up, we're all like, yes, but then 900 other things come up and we forget, and then we get put in these situations where we're like, didn't we say we wanted this? And here we are. So like, again, and it sounds like, Mom, not to speak for all of us, but it's so hard to think 4 or 5 of us that are congestion on our head. We need to start now looking at getting this form so that we are not doing this a month before next year's budget and being like, what's to come? Even though we're already in whatever financial position we're in, so then everybody feels heard. The other thing is really quick about I remember at the curriculum committee meeting about those grades, the percentage was really, really small. People that were like on that cusp of that the 65, 70, but even like impact. Yeah. So I don't know what it was, but I remember part of the decision-making process when we did that was because it was such a small, like it was going to help that very, very small number that were like right in that in between at 65 and 70. But like tiny, but it was worth it when we talked about it because it was going to pull those few over the finish line. I don't know if that helped a little bit. It kind of felt like a really long answer, non-answer.
And again, I have to just go back to the budget advisory committee. I sat on the budget advisory committee 20 some odd years ago, 4 years. My husband sat on it longer. It absolutely works. It absolutely makes accountability right up there at the forefront. Okay. You have, and I've said it before, you have accountants coming at you, have people who know what they're doing. Point discrepancies out. I would love that.
Yeah, I definitely think we need to engage our PTA again, get one representative from every school, open it up to the community, whoever wants to be on it. I agree, I thought it was beneficial, 110%. I would like the administration to get that role.
So I'm hearing the board majority wants with a subsequent school year to have a budget advisory committee, so we'll begin to work on that.
And I think it should begin in the fall when we should be knowing about budget issues. The public and the committee should also be knowing about it.
We should actually be organized over the summer, so that in the fall, we're ready to go.
We'll look to have it organized for the summer and get the whole process.
Number 8.
So I wasn't going to talk about this, but since you just brought it up, the piece that's really important is that 45 years ago, I was on the budget advisory committee when my kids went to Cherokee Street. The principal said to me, "Oh, you've got a financial background. How would you like to do this?" I said, "Sure." And we wound up at meetings with possibly 6 people. And I was on it for 2 to 3 years. We had meetings, we didn't have meetings, and people came and some people didn't. And when we got to the end of our time, which was normally like February, to give you the ideas that we thought you could use towards the next budget, and not you, but I'm talking about the Board of Education who was there at the time and the administration. Oh, this is contractual, this is contractual, this is contractual. So really all the ideas we had went nowhere. And it went nowhere for 3 years, and in 3 years it just died. I then was on the Connecticut committee that was trying to tax MacArthur Airport. And we thought we could get some money out of that. And I was on that committee for about a year, and the same kind of thing happened. We have about 18 people here tonight. I traditionally have about 25 people at a Greater Ronkonkoma Civic Association. If there's not a vote at a PTA meeting, you get 10 people, you get a lot. It's going to be very hard to get one person from every school to come to a budget advisory committee. And I hope you can, because it's really, the more heads that you put into this budget, the better off you are. I was talking about having a couple of people, a couple of interns come in from colleges and want to be, accountants, and let them look at the top 10 items on the budget that seem to be going over. And they would meet once a week for 2-3 hours. I think that would be also beneficial. If you could pay them a stipend, maybe they'll just come in for the great community service aspect of it. Actually, what I came up to say was, on Thursday, we are having the Meet the Candidates question and answer, and there've been some questions about it. It's at Sycamore Avenue. Oh, that's a comment? Okay.
Just for the budget.
Sounds good, all right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any more on the budget? You have 30
No, no, no,
seconds.
no.
Okay, thank you. Number 9. Button on the mic.
Hi, I just want to say that this was really interesting. But my first question is like, we're able to fire the teachers and you guys can replace them with the TAs because it's like more, like they get paid less. Is that how that works? Yeah. So my question is, doesn't that mean that the TAs are like less qualified to teach a class? Like with bigger class sizes, if there's only one teacher who has these qualifications and these TAs are just there to help, are these like children actually getting the benefits that they should be getting at such a young age?
So we're not firing teachers to replace them with TAs. There is excess, and that's what the term is called when somebody has a job and that their position is being eliminated. We're looking at the class sizes and our class size guidelines, and yeah, I know I said this a couple of times, but it's pertinent to what you just read. Thank you for coming up and speaking. We appreciate it. It takes a lot of courage and stuff for public speaking. So we're placing a teacher with a teaching assistant. The teaching assistant will be utilized to just look at the class size and maybe 1 or 2 students over those guidelines to assist the teacher. But we're absolutely not replacing any teachers with teaching assistants. But good question. Appreciate you.
Shouldn't it still be too much for a teacher to handle so many kids? Like even with the help of a TA, because then like the kids wouldn't be able to form like those connections with the teachers that they should be like learning at a young age. That way they could value their like education with the teachers.
So I totally appreciate your point of view, and we've heard others express a similar point of view. We do believe strongly with confidence that, you know, not just the learning needs of the students in all these classes, but also the social emotional needs will absolutely be met. And again, you know, we're talking maybe in a couple of classes, 1 or 2 beyond the guidelines, where if you start splitting the sections, then you have very small class sizes, and that's not always conducive.
Yeah, the floor.
Yeah, no, so just to put it out there, when a teacher's overburdened, it's invaluable to have, you know, teacher to help. Clearly, they're not going to do exactly what a teacher does, but it does that. And clearly, we're kind of working there, and we're doing the best we can. It's essentially nothing.
Okay.
But it's a good point. Everything you're saying is essentially accurate on that, you know. And I'm yeah, you're right. We're doing the best we can. There's nothing, and we're trying to help in that anyway. They are.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Number 10.
I actually served on the budget advisory committee as co-chair a couple times about 20 years ago. And I think the key there is that the committee is going to get involved and be on the committee, that they have to be heard, they have to be able to give input and actually have with interaction with the administration. But in terms of the budget this year, I think what we're seeing now suggests not just forecasting, but a pattern of financial mismanagement. When rising costs like salaries, benefits, and services are still not properly accounted for, that's not bad luck. That's a better plan. If one-time funds or reserves are used to prop up prior budgets, then the district knowingly or unknowingly created a structural deficit. That's not sustainability, that's postponing the problem. And now the consequences are falling on our schools, positions being accessed, experienced staff pushed out to retirement, larger class sizes, growing instability for both students and teachers. At some point, we have to call this what it is. This rises beyond simple oversight. It reflects a level of incompetence that borders on financial malpractice. The community deserves more than explanations after the fact. We deserve transparency, accountability, and an honest assessment of how this happened. That's why I'm calling for the New York State Comptroller to step in and conduct a full independent review, so this board and this community can have a clear, objective understanding of the district's financial practice. Because without that level of scrutiny, there is no confidence that this won't happen again. And ultimately, it's our students who bear the cost of these failures. And I will say one thing, because I run multiple companies. This level of discrepancy and unclear information would end in termination in the private sector. Period. There's no question about that.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to comment on the budget? At this time, I'm going to open the floor and give the candidates for the Board of Education an opportunity to introduce themselves. They can briefly give a background to themselves, and there will be no campaigning allowed at all. I'm going to go in reverse ballot order, just because why not? So, Ms. Napolitano-Ferno, you are up.
Loudest first, okay. My name is Jacqueline Napolitano-Ferno. I am a Ronkonkoma resident for 48 years, my entire life. I graduated Connecticut High School in 1996, class of 1996. I then went to Suffolk Community College, where I received my Associates in Criminal Justice. And then I went on to NYIT for a Bachelor's in Behavioral Science. And when my last semester left because I got sworn in as a NYPD police officer. I did 8 years in the NYPD, and then I switched over to Nassau County to a village police department, where I've served, and I still presently serve. I'm in my 27th year as a police officer. I was the PBA vice president for over a decade. I am a member of the Coalition of New York State School Boards as a former board member, and when I was actively on the board, where I work with board members from all over Long Island, and we go over things. I am the president of a new coalition, Students and Taxpayers First. That's only just been established in March of this year. We haven't really got it going, but it's to restore excellence, affordability to Long Island schools. I sit as the president there. I have been on the school board from 2019 for Connecticut to 2025. I served and attended the national conference for the Board of Ed on October 2024. I served on almost every committee, the superintendent search committee, the disabilities and special education, policy committee, budget committee, contract negotiations committee, drug alcohol task force, mental health committee, anti-bullying committee, transportation committee. I was a member of almost everyone that I'm still on the SEPTA, as a SEPTA member, I'm still on the emergency management committee. I love that one. I do the hiring committee. We were on the hiring committee, the security armed guards committee, health and safety committee, curriculum, school lunch, and nutrition committee. I'm sure I missed a few, but I am active in the community. I am part of the Connecticut High School PTA. I was with the Cherokee PTA, the Ronkonkoma Middle School PTA for many years as the Board of Ed liaison. That's how I got involved with becoming a board member. I also served as a membership for the PTA person. And like I said, I've been serving and doing community service in this community with St. Joe CYO. And also I help my dad with the Greater Ronkonkoma Civic at times. So I just like to serve. Wish everybody good luck.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you. Okay. Mr. Ed Barry. there a way to turn that feature off? Oh, got it. Oh, you do it?
Yeah.
Oh. I just need you to press the button. Go ahead.
Okay, hello, everybody. So I am a product of ConnectBot, and really, I thank everybody that's gone when I was a student, because they really prepared us for a world we couldn't possibly imagine. We are talking about cards for computer coding, and the Commodore 64, because a teacher wrote a grant, and we were one of the first districts to have computer accounting. As a student, I was a class president for 3 years. Played football, student exchange to Alabama. We were the first class to go to Rocky Horse. Tom Croce and Dee Server was their first class advising, and they took greatly us to Rocky Horse. I was later a senior advisor, and I know what that responsibility was like. As an employee, it's kind of interesting and fun. I started in 9th grade working in buildings and grounds as some program for lower income families, family of 6 on a police officer's salary. I then worked for 3 years at the high school as a stock clerk. I went on to become a tenured teacher. I was at the high school, was accessed in 1992, was called back, and then I was accessed again when I was teaching at Conklin Middle School. As a ConnectBot community member, I was a JV football coach, volunteer, CYO coach, baseball volunteer, and volunteer for the St. John's Youth Ministry. Professionally, once I was accessed from East Hampton, I'm like News 12. I first went to the Green Acres Mall in Valley Stream, and then the second accessing was out to the Montauk Lighthouse. So our students from East Hampton went to Montauk. I taught at East Hampton for 24 years. I've been a summer school administrator for BOCES since 2006. In that, I worked in quite a few school districts, getting to see what other districts are run like. I've worked in Riverhead, CI, Hampton Bays, Middle Country, Bayshore. I was a summer school principal here at ConnectBot in 2007 and 2008. As I quote retired, my boss says I'm failing miserably at retirement. I retired allegedly in 2018. Since then, I've been working as an interim assistant principal at Lawrence Road Middle School in Uniondale, an interim assistant principal at the Big Swan Tech Center, which you send many students, and I'm a big believer in career and tech ed. And this past year, I was an interim program administrator running the nursing program for BOCES. I raised my family in the Comstock School District. I have 4 children, 5 grandchildren. And in that time, I served for 9 years on the Comstock School Board. And that was really great. One of my favorite thoughts is having the superintendent more worried about what I'm thinking than finally be worried about what any one of my superintendents were thinking. So thank you.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you also. We have Ms. Jacqueline DiLorenzo.
I'm actually kind of nervous being on this side. A little strange. After spending so many years on this side before sitting up there. But my name is Jackie DiLorenzo, and I am a candidate for this year. I am a lifelong resident in the ConnectBot district. Graduated in 1998. I was, which I think I've said many times, very active in the music. One of my favorite things, all the shows, the musicals. I loved my time here as a student. And I have 3 children who are in schools. I have an elementary child who is a student, and I have middle school. He's very active with baseball, OBMS baseball team, and my high schooler who is very into track. So I have children at each level, and they're all very active. They love what they do. I am going to be married 19 years on May 19th. So kind of interesting that this falls right on my anniversary, but yeah, so we've been together for 19 years, very happily married. And I'm a children's librarian at the ConnectBot Public Library. I love working with children from birth up until fifth grade. That's what we focus on. And much of what I do is STEM, makerspace. I love it. The looks on their faces when they mix baking soda and vinegar. It's just fantastic. I love what I do. Being with the kids, it's fantastic. I am a Stony Brook undergrad, which is kind of interesting because I'm a librarian, but my undergrad's in applied math and statistics at St. John's University for my master's in library and information science. As far as outside that, I've been up here for 3 years. I also sit on the Bohemia Civics as secretary and member of the PTAs, and I've sat on many of these committees, if not, I think, all of them. In mental health, I've been on for many years, curriculum, transportation, policy, I think just about every single one of them. Working with everybody, done that. I don't think I have anything else to fill up my last minute at this point. So for now, I am done. Thank you for the opportunity to speak up here, and happy early anniversary to me.
Thank you, and good luck to you. I mean, what better way to fit Renville straight in here, right? Miss Jenny Ketty?
The first time I actually write something, because I do not like to talk about, so we'll talk about policies all day long and all that, but myself is just like. Good evening, thank you all for inviting us here to introduce ourselves. My name is Jenny Ketty, and I am proudly running for a position on the Network Board of Education. Well, I've easily stood at this podium advocating for many things for almost 2 decades. Tonight, at least for this moment, I will be sharing a bit about myself. Next public comment, all bets are off. I'm a married mom of 5, the most amazing, to me, children. 4 of them are in college and 1 is in high school. They've all grown up here and attended Connecticut from the beginning as we moved here when I was pregnant with our oldest child. My husband and I did not grow up here, but we chose to live here and we think we chose well. I had the good fortune to attend an excellent school district growing up that provided me with the opportunity to audition for a chance to attend the High School for the Performing Arts in my senior year of high school, which is a BOCES program. I got in. It was truly one of the best parts of my high school years, and I'm extremely grateful for the experience. After high school, I completed a degree in music and performed in venues throughout the city and the island. After some time working, I decided to go back to school, but this time I was going to trade school. I completed the coursework for cosmetology and passed the New York State licensing exam. I worked in the field for a bit, but was soon pulled for a job as a 911 operator and a police dispatcher. As one can imagine, this can be a very high-stress job where one must stay calm under crisis and be able to make split-second decisions. I loved that job, and I'm still friends with many of my former coworkers to this day. I worked there until right before I had my second child. Then I had the privilege of staying home until my youngest went to kindergarten. During that time, I threw myself into our community, volunteering where I could to help. I ran committees, sat on PTA boards, was a Girl Scout leader, teen mom, religion teacher, and much more. Not only in visible positions, but quietly behind the scenes trying to support others. One very memorable event was a very elaborate 5th grade play that myself and an amazing group of parents put together when there were no employees to do it that year. It was a crazy undertaking, but worth every second. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I am also currently a member of multiple PTAs still in our district, even though I have a high schooler. When my youngest entered kindergarten, I re-entered the workforce in the field of special education. I've worked in grades K through 12 and currently work in a specialized high school for students that need a different environment to support their educational and behavioral needs. I love, love, love what I do. In fact, during my time in this field, I went back to school again and completed a degree in community and human services with a concentration in advocating for at-risk youth. But I'm not done. I'm also now about halfway through my master's in special education for grades 7 through 12. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to know all of the things. A few random things about me. I love helping others and think that one small act can create a ripple. I do not think that anything is impossible, much to many people's dismay. I think we just have to figure it out, and I love a good puzzle like that. I love to read legal cases and do so for enjoyment. I know, I also love learning and reading about people to understand the why and how of them. A fun fact about me, I play multiple instruments, but focused my studies on voice and cello, and I appeared on a children's television show when I was little. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you as well. And finally, we have Ms. April Ines Ellie.
I'm just gonna stay sitting in my seat, it's just like Jenny. I do not like speaking about myself, so I had to write something also. Hi, my name is April Antelli. I've been part of the Connecticut family for most of my life. I have 3 children who all attended schools within the district. My connection to Connecticut extends far beyond being a parent. I have volunteered in the district for over 25 years, advocating for students, supporting countless school events along the way. I have served in every position on the BOSSI PTA board, as well as on the OBMS PTA, and participated at the PTA council level. Over the years, I've coached sports, baked more goods than I care to count, and helped organize more Halloween happenings than I can remember. Serving as a sitting board member felt like a natural progression after decades of volunteering and advocacy within the district. Through the board, I have the privilege of serving on several committees. The policy committee, where I help create and revise district policies. Alcohol drug committee, whose work has a meaningful impact on the student body. Curriculum committee, where I gain meaningful insight into staff and community perspectives on what is effective or what isn't working within the classroom. What next steps should be when it comes to curriculum and how it fits into New York State guidelines for public schools. Disability Awareness Committee, which highlights the incredible strengths of our special education population and raises funds for SEPTA scholarships. Anti-Bullying Committee, Transportation Committee, along with attending numerous district events throughout the year. Outside of Connecticut, I work for a multi-million-dollar global technology company as the Director of Procurement and Fulfillment. I oversee a team of 12 and serve as a subject matter expert for my company. My role involves using data-driven insights to drive continuous improvement. I review budgets and client forecasts to ensure alignment with company revenue targets and overall financial trends. Listening is a critical part of my professional role, listening to customers, internal teams, and stakeholders. That ability allows me to build strong relationships, create effective processes, and make decisions that benefit the organization as a whole. I have the privilege of working remotely, which provides flexibility in my schedule and supports a strong work-life balance. Additionally, between roles, I spent a year working at BOCES as a substitute and teacher assistant, supporting special education students. That experience gave me first-hand exposure to programs at the elementary and high school level, and I believe it has been invaluable in informing my perspective and decision-making as a board member. I consider myself a loyal and fair person, raised to treat all people with kindness while standing firm in my beliefs. I come from a family of educators. My mother dedicated a large part of her life to working with special education students, and I'm grateful for the values she instilled in me, to look beyond societal norms and recognize the work and potential in every individual. I believe I am a work in progress and view learning as a gift. I strive to learn something new every day, keep my mind sharp, and remain open-minded, always willing to listen and evolve with the time. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you as well. Can I please have a motion and a second to suspend the public hearing of the annual meeting and reconvene the business meeting? Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the April 21st, 2026 meeting? Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Can I please call for a motion and a second to approve item number 1 on the financial matters, Treasury Report, March 2026? Motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? No. Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion and a second to approve item number 2, cash flow report, July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026? Motion. Second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the overtime reports from July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026? Motion. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? No. Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the trial balance report July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026? Motion. Second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? No. Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion and a second to approve the appropriation status report July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026? Motion. Second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion second to approve the revenue status reports July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026?
Motion. Second.
Any questions?
How does the board know what they're voting for?
Because all these have attachments.
I know.
Yeah, so I open the attachments, that's how I know what I'm voting on. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes?
No.
Any abstentions? Can I please have a motion and second to approve the school lunch report July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026?
Motion.
Any questions?
Yeah. So when do I talk about the fact that in the high school, hamburgers are in water? Being given out in water? I genuinely don't know.
So, yeah, you
Having
could
to
do it,
lunch
you
program.
could do it now during, or you can wait for public board discussion,
What's more convenient?
probably board discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes?
Oh, I
Any-
do have a question.
Sure.
Free lunch. Is it free lunch still for the high school kids?
It is a free lunch. If you want a second lunch, you have to pay.
Right.
Right. But everybody gets free lunch
In the high school?
Yes.
Throughout?
in every building. If you want a second Whataburger, let's pay for it.
I want to know about the second Whataburger or the great chicken, but also I'd like to know why I'm putting money onto the account.
So
To be
my,
utilized.
I know why I put money. My son buys the second lunch and snacks.
Well, my kid doesn't. I buy some snacks, but accordingly, I'm being
It
told.
tells you, it itemizes what they purchased.
Hey.
Yeah. Any no's? Sarah was a no? Oh. Okay. And any abstentions? Okay. I will now open the floor for the first open public comment portion of the agenda. You all know the rule. I shouldn't have to read the whole thing all over again. Number one. Oh, I see. Number 10. Oh, number 11. Sorry, number 11. Got it. Sorry. Just press the microphone on the bottom. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I'm here to basically ask a question. Got a little bit of an incident going on with my son in middle school. And, it seemed-
I just have to caution you before you proceed that you can't describe any details.
That's fine, that's
Okay.
fine, that's fine. I wanted to find out, like, what is the protocol, when a student is, basically involved in a DASA report? And basically, let's say there's verbal, argument or dispute. But when, let's say my son actually had hands put on, so he actually, was pushed by another student. And with this ongoing DASA report that was just closed today on two parts, it was found there was no evidence found. And at the end of the day, it's like the old saying goes, sticks and stones could break my bones, but words can never hurt me. I understand that kids can, say things back to each other. None of this was in a threatening manner, okay? But somehow they deemed it a bullying against my son. And with this being said, my son was the one that was physically, touched. He was actually pushed twice in Ronkonkoma Middle School. And I just would like to find out, what is the protocol for when, say bullying is one thing with words, but then what about physical, when it becomes physical at the end of the day?
What I can say is if you leave us your name and number, I will definitely have somebody.
Well, Dr. Pisani has
Okay.
my number, so could reach out to her, and so does Mr. Mercado.
Okay, I
Glenn Beck.
don't know who.
Glenn Beck. Yep. And, you could reach out to them, and, because, you know, I had just got a letter delivered, to my son, you know, saying that the information was unfounded. And at the end of the day, I understand, you know, kids are kids and they're gonna get into, you know, certain things, and I understand the world that we live in today. However, my son was physically, you know, assaulted, and if we were on the outside world, you know, we would be arrested for something like that, okay? So in the school, I can't help but think that the school provided, you know, didn't provide a safe learning environment for my son, okay? Because it was physically, hands were physically put on him. He was pushed twice by the student. And I have, and you know what, honestly, I had just gotten the letter, and I says, there's a Board of
Sure,
Education
and I
meeting to come
appreciate you
down
coming.
here.
Dr. Cinema will have some remarks for you, and then we will
Hope
definitely
so.
contact you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Now, that's actually what I was gonna say. I don't know if you're gonna stay, we can talk after, but you gave me.
Absolutely. Because I feel like I have to bring it to a higher authority, and I have to bring it to your attention. So sorry that this might feel like on blast for everybody.
We can speak
You
every
know?
meeting, but
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Number 12.
First, I want to just say that I was at the Disabilities Committee, and it was spectacular. As always, great job, Mrs. O'Hara. One of the best administrators in this district, hands down. Great job. I've been on a lot of committees, and a lot of times you work towards something, and it's just like spinning the wheels and nothing ever happens. Some of the committees, it's great at the end, we figure something out, but sometimes it's like you just feel like you're just there. And I know some of you have had the same experience when you guys have been there. They did a great job last year, they did a great job this year. Really, I love seeing that. I loved seeing the unified game. It's like the most inspiring, and the most inspiring thing that goes on in this district are the unified sports. You go watch these kids bowling, you go watch these kids playing basketball, and the pure joy. So at the end of the game, I had few students come up to me and a few parents who I know very well. They asked me if I could respectfully advocate for them, so that is what I'm doing. I wanted to advocate for this board to allow graduating seniors who have earned the rank of Eagle Scout to wear recognition cords at graduation, just as this board that I sat on previously approved recognition for students completing programs through BOCES. We allowed that in the prior years. I'd like to see this also be allowed. A few years ago, this board made a thoughtful and meaningful decision. You recognize that achievement does not exist only within the walls of traditional classroom. You acknowledge the students who dedicated themselves to skill-based programs through BOCES. They deserve to have the effort seen and honored at graduation. Why shouldn't the Boy Scouts of America and Girl Scouts of America have the same? Eagle Scout is an incredible accomplishment, one that you do not see a lot of students, and I'm hearing that this year there are several of them. I don't see why this is something that shouldn't be done. I said this decision could send a powerful and meaningful message to our students that we all commit themselves to the excellence, discipline, and growth, and that no matter what they're going. Did I miss something?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. I didn't know if no worries at all. So like I said, I just want to see this, I would love to see this recognition and academic honor for them at graduation, like we've allowed other cords to be worn. I don't see what the issue is. I also think it's amazing to see the military ones, when they're wearing them over the years, a lot of things have been allowed. I understand that I told them to advocate at the high school level, but I also believe that the board has the power with one stroke to give this. And it would be nice if you guys called for a vote tonight and you did that.
Thank you. I'm actually curious, do you know if this parent reached out to the high school administration? Because I don't see why they would have been.
I was told that they reached out to an assistant principal and were told that they could wear them, they officially cannot wear them, but if they wore them, no student's gonna be told to take it off. Now that's ridiculous, because administration can tell them they're allowed. I mean, this is something that easily is something to honor for these kids.
Thank you. Speaking for myself, I don't know if the board wants to ask a conversation about it. I would personally be okay with that. I don't see why we would deny a child that, especially after achieving that milestone, because you started in like kindergarten or first grade or wherever you start with Boy Scouts, go all the way to the Eagle Scouts despite the accomplishment. So I don't know why we would take that away from anybody ever.
Yeah, I had this on, the board discussion.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, but I can, since we're on the topic, I'll talk about it now. I absolutely think that we should. I had friends when I was in high school that made Eagle Scout. I remember back then when, I was a kid myself, I was so impressed with the amount of work that goes into this. And as an adult, I've had coworkers that their children have made it to Eagle Scout and friends and them and even the Girl Scouts. I think Gold Star, Girl Scouts as well. What is it? Yes, and I think it's really something that we should absolutely recognize for these students. They did a tremendous amount of work to get there. It took them almost their whole life by the time they, if they're graduating. Like Marissa said, they thought kindergarten, I don't even know if they thought preschool, but very young. I absolutely am for allowing this and not telling them where, we won't tell you to take it off, but no, you made that rank, you got that honor, you should be proud, you should wear it, they wear their honor society clothes, they wear everything else, they should wear this proudly as well, I am absolutely for that.
Yeah, I'm 100% for it for the Girl Scouts and Boys as they Scouts. And of course, they achieved it, they should be able to wear it.
Pretty sure it's a given, right? If you can use it as a college, to get into colleges, it's a real plus. Why wouldn't they?
You would think it would be a given, right? But apparently it's not a given, so we just want to make sure it is. That's what I said, I would think it would be a given.
They really should have.
Right.
To avoid sounding like an echo chamber, yes. Right, like just all of the yes to all of it.
I will inform Mr. Moran at the high school teacher.
Number 30. Number 13.
So yeah, in 2023, I was part of the contingent of people who did email the board, Mr. Moran, the high school, for the BOCES, because the instruction sheet that they were given out for graduation rehearsal specifically said only cords given through ConnectQuad could be worn. So that's where that came from. So, yes. So I sent my very nice emails and yes, my son wore his cord to graduation. I wore it the rest of the summer. Why I'm up here right now is I was looking through Facebook and Dr. Santabor, huge theater fan. I'm looking through Facebook and I see pictures from the high school drama program that happened over the weekend. I had no idea this was happening. Where is this put out there? Like a lot of times as a taxpayer, not a parent, the only time that I see things that are happening in the district is after they've happened already. Unless I specifically know, like, oh, it's January, let me start looking for like the spring musical when that's happening. How do people know about these things? I would have loved to have gone that. I would have loved to support these students.
So I don't know if this is a fix, but you can go on the district calendar and upload the calendar for a specific school to your phone, and it will, like, I had this spring drama production on my digital calendar. It's something any parent, any community member can do. You don't have to be a parent, you can just download it. You can also call on your school and call the digital office and request an actual calendar mailed to your home. No, I know you shouldn't have to, and it should be better advertised. I agree with you.
Especially with like, because yes, I mean, I had 13 years of the school calendar in front of me, and when he graduated, the one thing that I missed was the school calendar because now, like, I plan vacation. But like since then, I've been like, oh, thank God, I don't have to look at this calendar anymore because all the things that I don't see.
In terms of announcements, promotions in general, are you on the parent square?
So parents that don't have children don't get
Correct.
notification.
I'm on
They
Parents
just
Square.
don't.
I'm not
I know
in
there's
that-
an avenue to do it, but they don't get the notification.
It took me a while to get onto Parent Square because I kept getting errors that I was a robot. And then I don't get notification, I got notifications that about these snow days not being taken off. Like I need to know that, but I don't get the things that I might wanna know about.
You know what I'd like to see? Just like we advertise all the time on Instagram, Facebook, all of this on the Connect Web page. Why can't we, and I said this about the 5K run this past weekend, that I just felt that it wasn't well advertised. That if we put it up before, not the pictures after, and we had discussed that, maybe your assistant or somebody could start putting up some of these things, then why can't we just put up the play, the drama, on these social media pages where people are looking, they're not looking at Parents Square, they're not, I mean, even myself, I'm in Parents Square.
I actually have my parents were in the.
Right, so, our
you're so-
calendar thing, but we're not getting those either. But of course, social media, one of them is going to catch my eye. I would love to see that, preemptively done, not, after the fact. Of course, I want to picture after too, but, preempt.
Thank you. Number 14.
Just to piggyback on that, I honestly don't see the advertising either, and quite honestly, I used to take my kids long before they were in high school. They were little. I mean, we saw Les Mis here, which quite honestly I thought was better than the Broadway version that I'd seen. So Grease, the kids were all super little. I haven't seen anything, not even on social media. And now it's nice to have it on social media because then and also with a link to the tickets, so you could buy your tickets when you're online. So it's like I feel like if you're not involved in the program, you don't really know about it. Like, and that's I don't even know what the show was this year. And this is probably the first time I don't know in almost 20 years. So that's weird. But question. We discussed grant writers. Whatever happened with the grant writing here? Do we have a grant writer? Do we not have a grant writer?
We have them.
Have they gotten any grants?
There.
Okay, so are we paying the grant writer or salary?
No, they get paid per grant that they.
Okay, because usually a grant writer, a lot of districts, they're paying for their grant writer, starting at 60 grand, and so, but maybe that's the problem, like, we're not paying somebody, so if there's no big motivation. Just a suggestion, I don't know. But now, so you have the DOL program, that's a grant program, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a grant program. That's the Department of Labor program, for the work, for high schoolers at work. So who applied for that? Somebody has to apply for that program regardless. So who was the person that applied for, or the position that applies for that grant?
I'm not sure if that's great. Or
You have to apply to that program, you don't just get it.
workplace.
So we do have a teacher who oversees that program.
Right.
That's what you're referring to?
Right,
where
so
we
they,
staff it?
so they specifically apply for that, the DOL program, the kids, they get like a
They are-
stipend for doing, whatever, like that whole program type of thing.
So those individual students are,
Yes, they do.
are placed, I'm sorry, are placed with her and she goes ahead and oversees their placements throughout the school year.
Right.
In terms of the mechanism for writing a grant.
Well,
for that
to
work,
be in that program, somebody has to apply for us to be in that program. It's not just a given. So you have to apply for it, and there's parameters for it, and there's paperwork that must be submitted, which obviously that person does. So who is the person for the position that's applying? Because maybe they want to apply for other grants and other stuff.
Maybe it will help if I explain what I do know about the program.
Because I know about the program, that's why I'm asking.
Ms. Rapone runs the program.
Right.
She works with many local businesses who pay the students.
Yes,
to work.
it's through the DOL. That's how it works.
Yeah,
They are
it's
DOL.
like, but we're not paying
No,
the students.
we're not paying the students, but what you're not understanding is to be a part of that DOL program, you have to apply as a district to be a part of that program. So yes, Ms. Rapone's doing an amazing job, 100%, I love her. But to be part of the DOL, the district isn't paying for it, but we have to apply for that. So how, did Ms. Rapone apply for it, or is there somebody else who's doing it? Like, what do we?
I'm sorry, I do believe she's the one.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Applied.
find
So
out.
she is our designated work-based learning coordinator.
Okay,
So-
awesome. All right, that's what I wanted to understand, because
if there are other options in other areas, which there are, because I did check the New York State website alone, grants that we could probably qualify for. Wouldn't it make sense for each of those departments? I mean, they used to do it years ago. They would apply for those grants for their departments like that, not like, that cover that, whether it's a guidance, that would oversee it or some, a department head or something. So are we focusing on that or are we just relying on this grant writer that's gonna write grants? That hasn't gotten any yet.
We're not solely relying on the individual grant.
But we haven't gotten any grants.
We actually just applied for a pretty significant one with Rough Street Communities, and that was a collaboration with Youth Enrichment Services. Unfortunately, we got denied, but we intend on applying again.
Okay, I'm just curious what that was. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 15.
Now I have even more to say. First of all, the basketball game the other night was fantastic. I love that game. I love those games because I don't just have to cheer for Connecticut. So I'm sitting on the bench, I'm cheering for Connecticut. I know some of the kids. And this grandfather and grandmother, about my age, come sit down next to me and he's cheering for his grandson. So his grandson's going down the court with, dribbling the ball. He's yelling his name, and I'm cheering too. And he looks over at me. So when our kids get the ball and go the other way, he starts cheering for them too. And it's not like when you got to be for Connecticut because it's a Connecticut game. This is a game for everybody. It was great. I loved it. I enjoyed going. The important thing now, why I originally came for the whole night, and you've got even more of me than you even ever cared to have, is that Thursday night we will have the Meet the Candidates question and answer, 6 to 9 p.m. at Sycamore Avenue. We are going to be there at 5:30 to set up, make sure everything's ready to go. We'd like everyone to be ready to go at 6 o'clock. I'll tell you my military service, we had a saying, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. So if you don't show up on time, you're gonna kind of like mess up the whole schedule. And we ask anybody who is coming from work and who's late, when you come in, it's fine, just take a seat nice and quietly. Hopefully we're gonna check the mics, make sure they all work. We're looking for 3 hours worth of questions, 3 hours worth of answers, 2 minutes for everybody to answer. So it'll be a lot, it should be a lot faster. And good luck to everybody.
Thank you. So 16. I have a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented.
Motion. Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Wait. Oh, sorry, the thing for both of them? Okay. Can I call for a motion and a second to, do you need me to do these separately also? Okay.
The extensions, like the bid.
Yep.
You get to put them together, so.
Yep, I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the budget transfers on the consent agenda, item number 2? Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion and a second to approve item number 3, preschool budget projected 26-27? Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I call for a motion and a second to approve the item number 4 and 5, Delta Dental Claims Resolution and the ESY 26-27 school year? On the consent agenda. Motion? Second. Any questions on 4 and 5?
Yes, quick question, because I didn't see this on the agenda until a few minutes ago. Delta Dental Claims Resolution? There's nothing attached to it, there's just the recommended action, but what is this? That's the dental admin fee, just What,
So I can answer that. So the Delta Dental, is more of a contractual obligation where say the teachers contribute, a portion contractually towards the dental claims as well as the district. And that when, I'll say when the claims, do not exceed, the amount that's contribute, there's an account that the monies have been kept in. So now when claims do exceed, what has been contributed, we then do a transfer from that account to cover.
that's what's on here, like this instead of a budget transfer, it's different.
Yeah, it's more of a, I'll say a trusted agency account, as opposed to just a general fund. It's on the trial balance actually, that was approved earlier, so it's there's.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstention to both, Ms. Parisi? Okay. I call for a motion and a second to approve items numbers 6 through 12 on the consent agenda. Motion. Second. Any questions on those? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion and a second to approve item number 13 and 14, the MOA Summer 2026 Business Internship and CTA MOA Extension? Motion. Second. Any questions on those? All in favor?
Just a, oh, sorry, quick question. The business internship MOA, I don't remember talking about that. Is that, have we done that before?
We do that every summer, and that's part of what Ms. Kenny was talking about. We have that part during the year, but then we have part of it during the summer.
And all in favor? Aye. Oh, it's the summer business program?
Last year the kids went to.
Ms. Poppy could?
I can explain it.
Mr. Foley.
We post it for anybody in the CTA. It's a teacher-run program. And there is an individual who did it last year. Her name is Ms. Rapone. She manages students who are working at these different businesses throughout the summer. She goes and she helps support them in doing this work for different businesses, local businesses and supermarkets, things like that. Yes,
This is like a stipended position and it,
yes, and that's what this MOA is.
gotcha.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I get a motion and second to approve items number 15 and 16, the flow-through contract on the consent agenda? Motion. Second. Any questions on those? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Can I have a motion and second to approve item number 17, the CTA MOA on the consent agenda? Motion. Second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay. So now we have the Board of Ed topics. We have charter schools, Ms. Naima Telly.
Yeah, I had brought this to the board, back in February, and I, asked everybody to vote. You guys said you needed more time. So I, sent you an email telling you, that it's gonna be on the, agenda tonight. And I'd like to vote to be able to send a letter to New York State in support of charter schools not being able to pay taxpayer money without our permission. I actually, was in a workshop this past weekend, and this topic came up, and even though it's not as big of a problem in our district, they are popping up everywhere, and there's no accountability. They, are taking kids in, they get paid, and what they're doing a lot of the times, they don't fit into their realm. By November, they're sending the kids back to the public schools, and they've already got paid, and well, not failing out, it just doesn't fit, I guess, in whatever their curriculum is. And you have to remember too, only a certain percent of teachers at a charter school have to be certified teachers. People can teach the classes who are not certified teachers. So again, it's becoming, more prevalent that these are popping up again in many other communities.
Can you give an example of a charter school?
There's one in Central Iceland right now.
There's so many in Riverhead, that was the main topic. The CTA did, right, I mean, the amount of schools that have now are in support of making sure for this bill. I mean, there's over 30 schools on here, I believe, that we had received a letter from CTA showing all the support throughout Long Island.
Okay, so respectfully, I have not looked into it at all, okay? We've been inundated with stuff that we're dealing with. I just feel like I can't, I need a little more time. Like, I just feel like I appreciate that you want that vote, I get it. I need a little more time to do my due diligence. Sorry.
I am in support of sending the letter against this charter schools. They use our taxpayer dollars to help fund those schools. And the community doesn't see that money, it goes to those schools. So I am definitely.
They're all bad.
I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying I would like my taxpayer dollars to go to Connect Our Schools and not the charter schools. So I'm a yes in support of sending.
Am I don't think it's about good, bad, as far as, from what I remember from reading the letter, it's literally, it's focusing on the tax portion of it, the taxpayer dollars.
Right, but if it benefits some kids, that's my thing. You understand, like, maybe I need to do more homework
Right.
on this, 'cause I just.
My feel on it is, sure, the charter school could benefit some kids. The money that it pulls harms more than it's benefiting. At least on behalf, I'm speaking how I feel as far as, especially our district goes, the amount of money that we lose for it is more harmful than it is helpful. And we don't get enough visual into exactly what's going on because of that is valid about how many teachers need to be certified and the oversight bodies. There's a lot, but I'm all for, like, I get what you're saying. You want to look more into it. We haven't even take it. Anyway.
Yeah.
I need to be able to look into this, so I'm gonna think this.
It actually is a majority vote to send the letter. Have to write the letter. Yeah, so we'll have a resolution at the next month. Oh, yes, so the Disability Awareness Fair, Ms. Lorenzo.
Yeah, I know, everybody kind of stole my thunder talking about this. I wanted to talk, no, that's okay. The more love for this event, the better. The Disability Awareness Fair was absolutely fantastic. I've gone the last 2 years I've attended, and it just keeps growing. And it was great, and again, the kids, the playing, as I was talking to John, and it's just pure. Their sportsmanship is pure, and you felt it in that gym. Didn't matter if they were Connecticut or Brentwood, I think that's who were playing. We were cheering for every single student. They were amazing. I love the way they interact with each other. They hand each other the ball. I tell you, we should all take a page out of their books because they're an inspiration to watch. And I absolutely love the little one with sign language. That was so heartwarming to see all these little tiny people up there signing at the beginning. They signed the pledge, and then they signed the national anthem. They sang that, and it was absolutely amazing to see. And the event itself was fantastic. Sorry if everybody heard me bang, I had to flash my mic. But the event itself, with all the schools being involved, that they had these amazing baskets. All the schools were there. The SEPTA, plus PTA, everybody came together. There was food, popcorn, cotton candy. Thank you to the students who provided that. A lot of happy kids with that cotton candy. The entire event was amazing. Thank you, Zohara, for leading the charge on that. Wonderful event. I love it. Definitely become one of my favorite events that we do.
Excuse me, thank you. And you're good on the Eagle Scouts, right?
Yeah,
Right. All right, does anybody else have any?
Oh, yeah, I just want to talk about the disability awareness, that I just want to add that, the committee on a whole decided to give a lot of the food away for free. And I can't tell you how excited the students were to get that food. So it just was a great feeling to see how excited they were. And the kid, Nick Poole, who gave his time, used his equipment, has his own business as a 10th grader to do the cotton candy, I have to give him a shout out. Everybody should be using him for their parties, their kid parties, anything they have. This kid, I even said to him, can you make him a little bit smaller, just try to go quicker? And he just was so dedicated to making a good product that he's like, no, I have to make him, like a better size. He honestly, such a good-hearted, great kid that in already 10th grade gave his time up and his supplies, and it just was amazing to say that it added to what a great experience it already was. He was so cute. So cute. Yeah, Miss O'Hara, amazing event. I think homework can be said, right, everybody? Everybody said it all. It was really great. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting? Motion. All in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.